Hello and welcome to the RZNGMEN show, and I'm your host, Craig Carlisle. I'm just so excited to have everyone here and listening out there, and been praying for each one of you, and definitely excited about the comments and the responses and the likes and the posts and the tweets and the retweets for everyone out there. It's just such a blessing. Today's topic is something that hits a little closer to home than I've really wanted to do for a while. But, on the RZNGMEN show, the Lord had given me this program and had really given me the thought and the mindset and the mission and the mantra and the life and the ministry to, from this point since my wife died, to have real talk. And that's why the show is really put together. It's why I write on my blog, RZNGMEN, RZNGMEN.org, and to help men become better husbands, fathers, friends, Christians, just better in general. Can't become better if you shy away from topics. If you can't become better if you walk away from things. You can't become better if you don't face your fear. You can't become better if you don't work with some things, if you don't clean up some things in your life. So that's what I've been finding myself having to do, and it's really what I did the last several days. For the last 4 years, my life has been a little bit different than I ever would have imagined. My wife got sick, and I should say this. We noticed that she had gotten sick late in 2011. We didn't know the extent of it until 2012. That was March 2012, but she passed away quickly in February of 2013. So it's been almost 4 years worth of this life-changing experience that we're going through, this season of grief. But as I'm writing in my book wholeheartedly, I'm not gonna live a lifestyle of grief. So today's topic we're going to deal with, and we're starting to introduce a lot of different series that the Lord has really given me. So this is going to be part of the Wholeheartedly series, and this particular topic within the Wholeheartedly series is called a clean sweep. So that's what I find that the Lord really has me doing in my life right now, is to kind of sweep up all the junk that I've been leaving tucked tucked under the rug, or left at the bottom of that bucket of a pit that I've called a heart. And I've found that you back in the old day before our parents really had vacuum cleaners, or those of you old enough to know it, you used to sweep things under a rug, and you leave a little mound there of dirt and stuff, and you walk around and you wind up with this lump in the middle of the floor. For those of you who are much younger and the millennials out there, you figure if you don't sweep, if you don't vacuum, you leave stains and piles on your carpets, or gritty feelings under your feet and toes as you're walking across the tile or vinyl floors. I encourage you all to not do that. Clean up. Gives you a new perspective, gives you a new wholeness. So what are you talking about? So what am I talking about here on the RZNGMEN show? And again, I'm your host, Craig Carlisle, and I just want to make sure you all understand this is our new series we're talking about. Wholeheartedly, and under that umbrella, it's going to be talking about a clean sweep. So for the last 4 years, I've allowed my bedroom to become this barren wasteland of paper and garbage and clothes on the floor and mail. A lot of it had been coming in the mail, and I kept thinking, I'll read it later. Maybe there's something in the mail that's just been sitting there. Maybe it's something I need that I'm afraid to look at or deal with, or I don't know, maybe I'll need it at some other point. That's been bills, medical bills for my wife's stay, medical bills for my kids' stay, medical bills from even my stays, junk mail, circulars, supermarket coupons, and advertisements. Believe it or not, when I looked at my room and some of the stuff and the items I was tossing away, and actually had the dates on them that went as back as far as 2012. It's pretty embarrassing when you really admit it. My floor is covered with that stuff. Front to back, top to bottom. It wasn't like the show Hoarders. It wasn't that bad. It's not like you had to climb around mounds, but I tell you what, you definitely had to step over a few piles. You had to kind of step around things, and there was definitely visible signs that I was well on my way to becoming a hoarder. I found that it was becoming just a standard way of living, and I thought I really didn't think anything of it. I saw it. I knew it needed to be moved. I knew that it wasn't a good thing, but I just didn't have the heart, or the drive, or the desire to pick it up. I would imagine a lot of you out there who've had a significant loss, maybe you've lost a spouse, and you've had to deal with their clothes in the closets, hanging there for some of us from the moment they got sick and passed away, or their first trip to the hospital, or maybe some of you still have that wheelchair sitting in the garage. Maybe some of you still have that walker sitting in the corner, gathering dust. In my case, I had my mother-in-law's clothes in a closet because my wife couldn't part with her mother's clothes. I had a room full of, or a closet in a room that we didn't really use a whole lot, full of her mother's clothes. Her mother had been gone almost probably 5 or 6 years before my wife passed away. And I let my wife's clothes hang in my closet in the same exact place where she left of the last time she was here in September of 2012, and they were sitting there, was just hanging. I even had the bag that I brought back from the hospital when I signed her body away to the mortuary. Hadn't unpacked it. At that time, it still had the paperwork in it. It had my signature on it. Had her discharge. Well, it wasn't discharge paper. It was the final sign-away paper. Had some of her personal effects inside that bag. Now, I was excited for myself even after 2 years of having gotten rid of that stuff. And I realized, and I took my mother-in-law's or late mother-in-law's stuff. I took my wife's clothing, and I put them all in a pile, and I discarded them respectfully. Salvation Army cleaned up that day, because it was easy to look at that stuff and go, okay, it's not my stuff. It's two ladies' stuff who had impacts on my life, one that I loved dearly and passionately. And I realized that their lives had come down to just a collection of clothing and things and hangers and good ideas and good intentions of things that they were going to do and get to at some point. But they didn't have all the accessories to accessorize properly with those outfits and those garments. So they hung there. Some items even hung there with the tags still on from the stores. They had never been worn before. So I dealt with that. Fast forward another 2 years, and now I find that I hadn't dealt with some other things. The mail that had been laying on the floor like I was originally describing, and papers on the floor, and just garbage just on the floor. And I just didn't want to deal with it. We're in the process of moving or selling our home. And that process being painful enough to even admit, even formulate my lips to say, and even to record it and have it broadcast to the airways, that the house that I had prayed for, the house that I believe the Lord had given me in a vision and dream, the house that the Lord had given as confirmation and provided a roof for almost 10 years for my family, I now have to sell. I'm working with a very outstanding real estate agent, Karen Toddy, and from Exit Realty. And for those of you who are on the West Coast in the Marietta, Menifee, Temecula area, if you need a good real estate agent, I'm giving you a plug. Karen, she had come to the house and she had helped me get prepped. And she did a walkthrough of the house, and she had given me some pointers and just remind me that some places the whole house had to be clean. The backyard had to be cut. That's a whole separate topic. But I had to get there. I had to get ready to actually see the room clean. I had a time limit. Couldn't let the house just go. I had to make some changes. I had to prep my family to be out of our home soon. I had to prep the house to be sold. I had to prep the house to be even viewed and shown by Karen and her team. So I had to get to work. Had to make some changes. I got work with all my kids, and I got their rooms done, and it was hard enough to grind through their stuff and look at their teary eyes and their frustrated looks and not wanting to do their room, but it was my turn now. I can no longer just tell and yell and tell them, hey, that you go to your room and pick up your stuff, pick up your stuff, pick up your stuff, pick up that, pick up that, pick up that. And I wasn't picking up this or that. It was a perfect example of the log and the plank story. In the Bible, it talks about you want to tell someone else what to do. And the paraphrasing and the Craigism of that story is basically, if I wanted to try to pick out of the speck out of my children's eyes for not cleaning their room and putting their clothes away and picking up that piece of paper or those socks off the floor, I had a hard time seeing past that log. And it's funny, that analogy is talking about a log, because if I had looked at all the paper that was on my floor, I probably had several logs, or one large log if I put all that paper together, the mail, and could have made a tree log out of that myself. As I started to clean my room, I thought I ought to take a couple of before pictures because no one's going to believe that I lived in that kind of filth. In fact, I'm going to post them on the site for the archive so you'll all be able to see and hold me accountable. And that's what I lived in for 4 years. That's what I showed my sons that was good. That was the example that I was showing my kids, that it's okay to live in that kind of filth. I know my oldest was looking at me crazy several times. He would come home from college and he'd see his dad sitting amongst the filth, working on the computer, writing devotionals, writing stories, trying to help other people with their stories and their problems and become better. And I wasn't becoming better in that area. So I had to get started. And what was so amazing to me is I took the first few pictures and I actually looked at the mess through the eyes of the camera. It actually made me ill. Physically felt nauseated. I thought I was going to just vomit right there on the carpet because I was just, but it was, as I was just so disgusted by it. And I caught myself. I was like, Craig, what are you doing, man? How can it be disgusting to you? It's been 4 years you've left this mail and other garbage laying on the floor. How come all of a sudden it was disgusting to me? I think it was because the change had already come. I think the Romans 8:28, it set in as it relates to that. All things work together for those who love God and are called according to his purposes. So that had already worked together where I could finally see the problem. I had people in my room coming to visit. I even recorded 2 of these programs. I've got a studio built out of my room, and I'm thinking, wow, these 2 guests didn't even say anything. They're my good friends, but wow, they just overlooked it. They must really love me because they did not say a word. They met me where I was. And they loved me through that. What are we talking about today? You're listening to the Raising Men show. And I'm your host, Craig Carlisle, and I have to tell you, it was a hard topic to deal with grief. I've been shying away from this topic for a while. The Lord's giving me the vision to do this and do grief share to help people who are like me be better. And before I can help anyone else be better, I have to be better. So as I started to pick up those papers off the floor in my room after 4 years of accumulating them, it was hard. It took times I had to stop and breathe and gather my thoughts and wipe the sweat from my brow because it became even difficult to breathe. And from the time that it got hot, I got sweaty and I had to open the window and just kind of look. And catch my breath and kind of regroup my thoughts and just continue to push through, because I knew I had to do it. I knew I wanted to do it, because I knew on the other side of a clean room was going to be an example for me, and it's going to be cleansing and breakthrough. So I did it. 6 garbage bags later. And I'm not saying garbage bags like you put a tall kitchen garbage bag. We're talking the big outdoor black, I want to say 33-gallon garbage bags. And I wasn't light with it. I was stuffing stuff in there. I had gotten on a roll. I had gotten good at it. It started to feel like, yes, I can do this. I could see the floor again. I could see the light. I could see the furniture that the wife had bought years ago. Finally, that was no longer covered up with mail. The log was removed from my eye, and I could see what it was worth finally. I could finally see the light at the end of that tunnel. I could see the light finally, because the papers weren't covering the windows anymore. It was piled pretty high in some cases. But now all of that is done. I've almost become a neat freak, because having been able to push through that, having been able to see what my room looks like, to be able to breathe now and no longer see the dirt. It was amazing. It is amazing. My youngest, Jackson, came in the room, and he looked around. He got home from school, and he was surprised. He was like, "Dad, your room looks amazing." But then he says, "I really didn't mind how your room looked before. I thought it was okay. That's why I kept my room dirty." And I think that's what hurt me the most, is that the example I have been setting for my sons for so long, for the last 4 years, is that it was okay to live in filth, that it was okay to live in dirt. It was okay to live so far below a standard that he thought it was the right thing, because his dad was showing him that. But now I've reminded all of my young sons, and I'll remind my oldest when he comes home from college, that we've got to clean. And if I can clean my room, if Dad can clean his room, that means the rest of you have no excuse anymore. You have no margin for error anymore. As far as cleaning is, I mean, there's grace. We're going to let grace abound, yes. But when it comes to just being downright nasty with your cleaning, we can't do that anymore. I've got pictures of my bathtub that was a nice white porcelain tub. Oh, I don't know if it's porcelain, probably fiberglass, but it used to be porcelain back in the day. But it had become so nasty that it was a good creamy tan with lots of dust bunnies and stuff, because I had stopped using it. I'd stopped using places that made sense in the house, in my areas anyway. The public areas, the places where the general population came in to visit, and my kids' friends came in. They didn't come in my bedroom, because that was my place. It was that space in my heart that I kept even hidden away from God. My room represented to me, as the Lord was showing me, that place of intimacy, the place where love lived, the last place where pain dwelled, the place where sadness was. That's what that mail represented. That's what the dust and the lack of vacuuming and the stains and the darkness. I wouldn't even pull the curtains open half the time, because I didn't want the light hurt. I didn't want to bring the light in. But the Lord was just showing me that you can't continue to live there. I could not continue to live there. The house had begun to suck the life out of me anyway. So many memories here, and so many. It still feels love. It still feels warm. It doesn't feel like it's an empty shell. I think that's what pulled on me the most, is that love just kept sucking on me and pulling on me and just reminding me to do better, and I didn't want to. I wanted to stay where I was. And if you find yourself in those places where you just don't want to do better, that puts you in a place of depression. That puts you in a place that you choose in some cases not to want to live. I've had those moments. I've had those thoughts. I've had those desires. I've even tried it once to take my own life. So yeah, okay, yeah, he's doing a radio show. Yeah, he's a father of, 5 boys. And what do you mean you wanted to take your life? Hey, when you get to the point where you allow the enemy to talk to you, make you feel as if you have no hope, you'll do anything. You'll do anything to make that pain go away. I'm just thankful that the Lord allowed me and saw fit to let there be a failed attempt. I'm so thankful to the Lord that I have finished my room so I can see the goodness, that I can see the light come in. And that's why I'm driven now to continue to help men be better, because there was no better place for me other than where I'm at, because it's where the Lord is given. Because the word says that this is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad. So the Lord has given me breath. So if you are out there and if you're a person who's suffering from depression, whether it be because of a lost loved one, whether it be a husband or a wife or a child or brother or sister or a close friend, whatever that may be, if your home is broken and torn apart because of divorce or just being separated from your friends or family or whomever that you loved, I'm just asking you to reach out, take that step and believe in God that He has something better for you, that He's holding you fast. He's holding you up, because if He's giving you this day, this breath, and you're breathing, if you're able to hear this program, that means you've got an opportunity to change and do better. Again, you're listening to the Raising Men Show, and I'm your host, Craig Carlisle, and I'm just pleading with all of you that are out there now that have any issues with depression, any issues with hopelessness. I'm just praying for you now, and praying blessings of peace upon your lives. I'm praying blessings of hope in your lives. I'm praying blessings of forgiveness in your lives right now. Because there is hope. If the Lord gave you breath today, if you're breathing, if you're listening to this program, you have an opportunity to change. You have an opportunity for your life to become better. You have something to live for. Send me messages. Or you can personal message me on Facebook. You can send me messages on Twitter. You can post comments if you want. You can send me emails on the blog if you want to. My email is easy. It's Craig, CRAIGC, at RZNGMEN.org. That's RZNGMEN.org. That's CRAIGC at RZNGMEN.org. I'll pray for you. I'll pray with you. We have ways to have people call in and have you be on the show. In fact, I'm going to have the privilege of interviewing a guest, a young man who's at one of those points in his life where he's wondering if it's worth it. I've done enough funerals for people who've taken their own life. I've seen enough of the reports for people choosing not to live. Enough is enough. Enemy, you have no more room for that. So we're taking back those lands. We're taking back our sorrows. We're taking back our pain. We're taking back all that, because you have to have that. I used to think that I didn't want my kids or myself to be sad. I used to really think we should be happy all the time. And I used to believe that as long as we didn't cry, we would be okay. But there was a cartoon that had come out several years ago now, that where all the little characters were an individual emotion. And I believe I cried in the middle of that cartoon when I realized one of the lines was that you can't be happy all the time. It's just not healthy. The same goes for you can't be sad all the time. Our lives are way too short to live in fear, to live in sadness, to just live so far less. The Bible says we should live our life and live it abundantly. Abundance doesn't mean the abundance of fear and sadness, but it means that scripture talks about abundance of joy and fullness of joy, abundance of all things the Lord is bringing for you. And so He has things that He is bringing for your good, not for evil. Jeremiah 29:11 talks about the plans He has for us are to prosper us and not for pain. Now, we're going to have pain along the way. That's just a part of it, because all things work together. Romans 8:28 says all things work together, not just the little things, not just the happy time, not just the sad time, but all things. The loss of a loved one, the loss of a job, the loss of a house, the loss of just whatever. But it also works together with the things, the cleanliness, the hope, the joy, the pulling back of your blinds to see the sun. Yeah, all those things too. The smiles, the laughter. Yeah, all those things. The hugs from friends, the going out of the house, the celebrating your birthday, which I haven't done in 4 years. But if the Lord allows me to see my next birthday, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to celebrate. Because if the Lord saw fit to let me make it to that point, man, I should be excited. If the Lord lets me see in the morning, I'm going to celebrate. If the Lord allows you to see morning, you should celebrate and give thanks. And I know we don't all have all the things that we want in life. I get it. But just like in the story in the Bible with the boy with the 2 fish and the 5 loaves of bread, Jesus gave thanks for the not enough. And he offered it to God, and he was active there, and he sat there watching the Lord multiply it. And that's all I'm asking you to do in your life. And if there's an area of your life that's not enough love, not enough joy, not enough peace, not enough happiness, not enough money, not enough time, not enough energy, whatever your not enough is, I just pray that you give thanks for the not enough. Give thanks to the Lord for that, and you watch what he does with it. Again, you've been listening to the Raising Men Show, and I'm your host, Craig Carlisle, and I'm just so thankful to all of you for listening, and I know that you have hope. I love you all. Be blessed.
You're listening to Raising Men with my dad and your host, Craig Carlisle, on WKBY 1080 AM.
This is Craig Carlisle, the host of the Raising Men Show, and I'm also an executive producer of the independent feature film Restored Me.
I lost everything for something I didn't do. What type of God is gonna watch a man get up on his feet and then kick him right back down and get drugged through the dirt again?
It's a powerful, feel-good dramedy that centers around a young man trying to restore his relationship with his young daughter and her mother.
Talk to him just like you're talking to me.
Where have you been, kid? These people take communion from me. I am their God.
This film speaks to restoring your faith and pushes a bold message of positivity and motivation. The cast includes Gary Owen, Bill Duke, William Lee, Matt Gerald, Richard T. Jones, Malik Yobo, Yancey Arias, and Bo Casper Smart, just to name a few. Restored Me is available on over 100 digital markets, including iTunes, Amazon, and on demand from your local cable provider. Buy it, rent it. Either way, I'm asking you to watch it. It'll bless your life.